Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 10 Geography. This lesson we are looking at developing our understanding of the different climate zones around the world. So in the past lesson we looked at what is a climate, so the long-term weather patterns, rainfall, temperature, etc. of a region. This lesson we're looking at dividing up the map of the world into different zones or regions of types of climates, basically. So your tropical, your dry, temperate, continental, and polar environments, the big five. Success criteria is to be able to identify the different world climate zones and make some connections between climate and well-being, similar to the last lesson where you guys looked at India's well-being versus their environmental factors versus climate in the region. We're looking at climate zones and well-being in this lesson. So, before I buzz any further, a couple of good videos to watch on world climate zones, nice and quick. This one's about 4 minutes long and it talks about the big five types of climates. Very briefly, they've actually got a whole series on it, but I'm not going to go into each of them because they're actually a bit longer, those individual videos, but the intro is a really good summary. And this is a quick 3-minute video which talks about climate specifically in Australia, which is useful. And I'll get back to the slide. So, the causes of climate variances or differences around the world are the altitude of the region, so depending on whether you are close to the ground, close to the ocean, or a bit high up, wind patterns, latitude, so where you are on the map. If you're close to the North and the South Pole, it's going to be hella cold. If you're close to the equator, it's going to be hot. Air pressure, geographical factors, etc., etc. I'm not going to get into too much science behind climate, because that's not my field and it's not really what we have time for in this lesson. The key message that we're looking at in terms of world climate zones is basically your latitude, so your location on the globe, whether you're up here in the north or down here in the south, is going to impact the amount of sunlight and the weather that your region receives, and that's going to directly lead to you having a specific type of climate. And there are 5 types of climate zones around the world. You've got tropical, dry, temperate, continental, and polar. These climate zones have different climates and characteristics, so different levels of rain, temperature, which will then lead you to have different wildlife, different animals, plants, etc. So here are the 5 types of climate zones in the world. You've got a nice little map of Australia here that shows you that Australia is very unique and that we've actually got almost all the different types of environments in Australia, the different types of climate zones, sorry. So we have tropical climates in Australia. In tropical climates, you see very little variation in temperature, so it's always hot. You're not going to have like one season of the year where it's cold. Every season it's hot. There's high temperature, high levels of rainfall located near the equator. So you're looking at the map of the world. It's a bit hard to see that. I'll show you a bigger version of that later. But these dark blue colors here, so you're looking at Brazil, South America, seeing in the Pacific here, and then Central Africa. Dry climates, so that has high temperature but very low rainfall. So you're thinking deserts, basically. Low humidity, desert environments located just above and below the equator. So Australia, Northern Africa, so desert environments, you're looking for those reds. So lots in Africa, lots in Central Australia, like Northern Territory where it's just desert. And then a few ones happening over here in South and North America. Then you've got your temperate climate. So think temperate, you think moderate, you think average. So it's just kind of meh, not too hot, not too cold, just right. You can see 4 seasons in these types of climates. You're seeing changing amounts of temperature and rainfall throughout the year. And you're looking at regions such as Europe, Eastern China, and New Zealand. So Europe, you're seeing these kind of greeny yellowy colors. Over here in Eastern China, kind of northern India, and then America over there. Continental. In continental environments, you're seeing very significant variations in temperature and rainfall. It's usually cold, but they have the potential to get rather hot. Located just below the Arctic Circle, so Asia, North America, and Western Europe. So if we go back to our map, you're looking for those purpley colors there. So kind of up here, North America, Canada, Alaska, a bit happening in Europe. And then finally, you have polar, so extremely low temperatures, below freezing point. Lands covered in ice and snow, located at, as the name suggests, the North and South Pole. So North Pole and Antarctica. So we're looking for those gray colors up there. Dunk. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say, guys. This lesson, you're going through your lesson activities in pages 180 to 181 of your textbook. So it's just after the pages we were looking at yesterday, if this can load properly. So that's what we were working on yesterday, looking at environmental factors. Today we're looking at specifically that World Climate Zone map. And then questions 1 to 3 down here. I have written the questions in the slide though, and I've also put that map from your textbook into the slide in a bit bigger version, which should help you with the questions. So question 1, after reading those 2 pages, how does the climate of a region impact the distribution of human population? So the location of where people are at, the amount of people in that location, so density. So basically, if I'm living in the middle of the desert, is that going to impact the human population, the location of where people decide to create their cities and settle down and live their lives? Does climate impact human populations? Question 2. Why are people migrating to regions previously considered marginal climate regions, unsuitable for human settlement? So in the past lesson, we looked at marginal climate zones. So this idea of, in the past, in ancient history, we would settle in the best of the best places around the world, but now we are being pushed out to other regions of the world, and there's 1 or 2 main reasons that are forcing us there. So you just need to read through the textbook to get that answer. Question 3. I can't remember if we've actually used this website before. I know we use it in the next area of study, but since we're in remote learning, we actually flipped the areas of study, so I can't remember if we've used this website before. But this website gives you the HDI index, which is basically a list of countries from around the world, and it shows you their human development levels. So basically, do they have high or low human well-being? So do they have a lot of money, good hospitals, good schools, or not so much? So using that website, find the HDI rankings for these countries: South Africa, Canada, Brazil, Germany, Pakistan, Indonesia. So 6 countries there. Using source 4.7, which is this map in your textbook, but again, I'll put it in the slides just to make it a bit bigger. Using that source, record the climate zone of each of these nations. So you might need a world atlas for this one if you don't know where Canada is. But Canada is, I'll give you a freebie. Canada is right here above North America. So for question 3A, I'm going to look at the climate zone for Canada. And if I look at my legend over here, I'm seeing it's a continental climate, that light blue and that pink color there. So I would write 3A, Canada, continental climate. And then I just need to find South Africa, Brazil, Germany, Pakistan, Indonesia. 3B, to what extent do you believe the differences in human well-being in these nations are connected to their climate? So that's where this website comes into handy. I might as well open that up actually. Whoa. So you can see it's got the different countries of the world. And if I click on, let's go to P for Pakistan, it'll show me the human well-being levels. So the health and happiness of Pakistan compared to the rest of the world. So that's the number I want there. If I score a 1.0, I'm the best country in the world basically. So you can see Pakistan has a score of 0.5, which isn't great. They're ranked 152nd in the world. So do you think, looking at that, and then looking at, whoa, that's zoomed in a lot. Looking at what climate zone they're in, is that connected? So does the climate of Pakistan impact the well-being of Pakistan? So if I was to give you another example, no, I don't want to give you all the examples. That's not fun. So 3B, to what extent do you believe the differences in human well-being in those nations, that big 6 nations there, are connected to their climate? Explain your response, 1 or 2 sentences. It'd be good to drop in the HDI rankings of those different countries, their numbers, in your response, just to prove your point. And that's why you're working on this lesson, guys. This is the first half of your double period, so make sure you check the lesson plan for period 2 before you move on to the next activity. And yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, best of luck and cheers.